The best thing about bread and butter pudding is you can make it really basic using some leftover bread, a bit of milk and some eggs, or you can go the complete opposite way and make it into something very special. Now I'm going to show you my Panettone bread and butter pudding, and I'm also going to make a homemade jam to go with it. Now in a saucepan I'm adding 3 punnets of fresh blueberries. Now to give it some extra sweetness, a little bit of icing sugar. And we don't have to sift it, pop it straight in. I'll give that a stir and just allow that to macerate just a little bit so the natural juices start to come out of the blueberries. All right, we need some acid in here, so a little bit of lemon. So we'll cut that and squeeze it in. The natural pectin in the lemon is also going to give this that gelatinous, almost sticky finish that we all love in jam. Now let's get on to the custard that goes into this bread and butter pudding. 600 millilitres of thickened cream, and instead of just mixing it through the eggs, I like to warm it up a little bit. So in a pan, we'll turn the heat on and we'll just bring this to the boil. Now I need to whisk some sugar with some eggs. Instead of using the whole eggs, I like to use 5 egg yolks. It doesn't give this bread and butter pudding a really eggy flavour, but more of a rich custard-like flavour. So in with half a cup of caster sugar. We'll measure that out. And then with a whisk, we'll combine this. You don't need to over whisk this, but we just want that sugar to dissolve into the egg yolks, just like any other classic custard that you would do. Fantastic. A good amount of allspice can go in there. This is just ground allspice, and we'll just mix that in until it's nice and smooth and a little bit glossy. That is just perfect. Okay, this cream is boiling, so we'll take it off the heat and we'll just whisk this in. So constantly whisking as you pour cream in, and that'll ensure that it doesn't split or those eggs don't scramble. That is a seriously delicious custard right there. Now we're just going to allow that to cool, put that to the side for a little bit. Let's turn the heat on our jam. So just on a medium heat, and then we'll let that bubble away. I can also now start to prepare the base of this pudding, and I'm using this. This is a panettone, and you can get this from all good Italian delis. It's a sweet bread, very much like brioche, but it has lots of sultanas through it, lots of dried fruit. Have a look inside. You can see how light and dry it is, and I'll tell you what, that really does smell like Christmas right there. It's a great bread because it can hold its shape. It's quite dry and is perfect for this style of pudding. So what I'm going to be doing is just cutting this into big strips to start with. And then once I've got some nice long strips, we'll cut them into smaller pieces just like this. Okay, I've greased a tin with some butter, quite generously. It is a bread and butter pudding. And then now I'll place our panettone bread just next to each other in one line. And then the next layer, it can overlap just a little bit, just like that. Press down on it. You don't have to be too delicate about it because it is going to bake in the oven later on, so you won't see as much. So we'll do this with the next layer. And now you do want to make sure you use a tin that's not too big, because what I'm after is 2 layers to this bread and butter pudding. So now all we need to do is wait for our delicious blueberry jam to finish cooking. We'll let it cool down a little bit, and then we can put the whole thing together. Okay, this lovely jam has cooled down. It's nice and thick. Look at the colour of that. It just looks so good. Now we need to soak the bread twice, not only in the custard, but I love the addition of cognac. Cognac is a brandy, and we just pour that over. You can add as little or as much as you like. I'm going to make it adult style and add a little bit more. And then what I'm going to do is add some pears on top. Cognac and pears, fantastic combination. This is just 1 pear I've peeled, cored, and I've diced. This is almost going to turn into compote after it's been cooking for a while in the oven. You could also use some apples. And then we can add our jam. Now you can spread it onto the panettone, making sure most of it is covered, and then just go all the way to the borders of our panettone bread. Fabulous. Now we need to put our second layer of panettone. So we've got enough there, and you can squish it down a little bit. Don't have to be too perfect with it. It can be quite rough, just as long as most of that jam is covered. Now to bring the whole pudding together, our delicious custard, and just with a ladle, we'll pour this over. Oh, look at that. Now you want to be quite gentle with this because you need to give the panettone some time to soak up the custard. So using a ladle just to pour it over. And then the best is to leave this to stand for 20 minutes to half an hour, just so all of those flavours can mingle before it goes in the oven. So a little bit more, great. The last thing I love to do is add some texture to the topping, and the best way to do that is with some demerara sugar. Demerara sugar has a lovely crunchiness to it. It's also got a nice caramel flavour to it. So with your hands, we'll just sprinkle over that demerara sugar. You'll see it caramelise in the oven too, so it's a perfect finish for a pudding just like this. All done. So we'll let that sit there 20 to 30 minutes and then pop it in the oven. 160 degrees, so not too hot because we don't want the custard to start to scramble. 160 for about 20 to 25 minutes. This bread and butter pudding looks incredible. I'm so happy with the way it's turned out. I can smell the blueberries in it, and I can also smell the allspice. Now it's going to have a lovely crunchy topping because of that demerara sugar, but just to make it look extra special, I love just a little bit of snow, a little bit of icing sugar over the top. And that just takes it to the next level. Now let it cool down for about 5 to 10 minutes before you serve it because it's going to be piping hot. And then I'm going to take a nice, generous scoop out. Have a look at that centre. You've got the 2 layers of the panettone. It's not dry. You can see how moist it is, and that jam, well, look at it. It's just staining everything with that bright purple colour. Pop it on a plate. If you like, you could serve it with some cream, some double cream, or just dig in as is. That is one seriously delicious bread and butter pudding.